They tore down my family's 80-year-old bridge with a bulldozer at dawn on a Tuesday morning. A group of them stood by, recording the scene on their phones and chuckling as the stones my grandfather had set in place back in 1943 tumbled into the stream. What they overlooked was that I controlled the sole alternative route into their exclusive neighborhood. All 85 of those homes depended on it, and I was prepared to transform their daily drives into a costly reminder about respecting boundaries. Darlene Pritchette, the HOA leader, a real estate broker, and habitual intimidator, assumed she could overpower a reserved engineer like me without resistance. She was partially correct. I don't engage in petty conflicts. Instead, I ensure victory. My name is Garrett Sullivan, 54, a third-generation civil engineer residing on 127 acres in rural Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes from Pittsburgh. It's the sort of area where mornings greet you with the murmur of water over rocks rather than urban clamor, and your first cup of coffee carries hints of damp foliage and fuel from a vintage Dodge truck that's outlived many relationships. This land has belonged to my family since 1938. My grandfather, whom we called Pops, acquired it amid the Great Depression and constructed everything from scratch, including a sturdy stone and wood bridge across Blackwater Creek in 1943. It linked our property to Old Mill Road, the primary path to a handful of nearby farms at the time. That bridge was no simple endeavor. Pops hauled base rocks from the creek, cut the beams himself, and had the metal fittings crafted at the local forge. It consumed 8 months of his effort. As a boy, I fished beneath it. At 16, I assisted my father in swapping out worn boards. Each crossing, with gravel grinding under the wheels, echoed Pops's wisdom: construct it properly, and it endures beyond you. Now semi-retired, I handle occasional consulting work and earn from leasing parts of the land. Widowed for 2 years with my daughter out in Oregon, I lead a serene existence. The bridge remained my final tangible link to Pops. Then, 18 months prior, a builder developed Meadowbrook Estates on the former Kowalski farmland, 85 upscale houses starting at $600,000, complete with gates and an HOA that acted as if it governed the entire region. During construction, they required a sewer line across my acreage. I bargained, securing $12,000, all documented legally. That should have concluded matters. Enter Darlene Pritchette, 62, driving a Tesla Model X with a stark bob haircut and personalized items everywhere. She ascended to HOA president shortly after settling in and seemed intent on reshaping the surroundings to her vision. In April, she appeared unannounced at my door with a formal notice demanding the bridge's removal within 30 days. Citing it as unsightly and a flood risk based on an HOA-commissioned review. "Ma'am," I replied, "that structure is fully on my land. Your association holds no sway here." She grinned condescendingly, like instructing a dim pupil. "Mr. Sullivan, records indicate it's outdated public infrastructure. We're urging compliance with safety standards." "Your assessment is a brief report from a gardening firm," I pointed out. "No professional engineer's endorsement." Her expression stiffened. "We'll pursue this through official means." She departed, and I discarded the letter, expecting her to relent. A week later, at 6:04 a.m., a rumbling engine jolted me awake. I dashed out in undergarments and boots, spotting a bulldozer dismantling the bridge, rocks shattering, beams plunging into the water amid swirling dust and fumes. I yelled at the driver, who dismissed me, claiming it was a county-ordered removal with paperwork. "That's my bridge," I protested, but he persisted. Then I noticed 3 vehicles on my driveway. Darlene and 2 board members, capturing the destruction on their devices, one of them snickering. Trembling, I dialed emergency services. The sheriff arrived after 40 minutes. The bridge was ruins. The officer noted the incident but deemed it civil, advising a lawsuit. Darlene, composed, presented him with files. "Officer, we eliminated a danger, sparing the county potential litigation." Standing there dusty and exposed, I realized she viewed me as mere hindrance. Returning to my porch amid the scent of pulverized rock and murky water, I resolved, if she wanted to challenge ownership, I'd demonstrate an engineer's grasp of roadways. I recalled a crucial detail about Old Mill Road. Next day, I engaged Mitch Kowalski, a local attorney specializing in land issues. We'd attended school together. Reviewing the demolition images, he declared, "Garrett, this is the clearest case of property vandalism I've encountered in 2 decades. We sought an urgent order to halt further harm and sued for $78,000, $35,000 for rebuilding, $25,000 for heritage worth, $18,000 for distress." The police report was unhelpfully neutral, but the inspector verified the bridge's legality on my turf, with no approvals for the demolition. Darlene's team countered, asserting public usage over decades implied county ownership via adverse possession. Mitch chuckled. "They skipped research. Adverse possession requires neglect. I had decades of repair receipts, signage photos, and tax proofs." The judge rejected their claims swiftly. Satisfying, yet merely the opening. Darlene escalated, retaining a high-end Pittsburgh firm that sought dismissal and $50,000 in costs. Their settlement dropped suits plus a $5,000 donation to veterans in Pops's name. Over lunch, Mitch explained it as optics. I rejected it. $5,000 couldn't equate to 8 months of labor destroyed amid mockery. Then, screenshots from Meadowbrook's private group surfaced. Darlene labeling me obstructive to safety, implying instability post my wife's passing. Comments piled up, branding me erratic, harming values. I avoid online platforms, but the smears hurt. A friend phoned. "Seen the posts?" I had. Respond? "No," I replied from my porch amid storm scents. "I'm not waging digital battles. I'm securing triumph." I consulted contacts, surveyors, officials, from my outdated address book. Rosalie from planning whispered about Darlene's rushed expansions, signed by Commissioner Todd Gisham, her partner. They'd co-owned a Florida property. "Records are public," she noted. I delved into archives, deeds, easements, aged maps. As an engineer, deciphering such materials is routine. I uncovered gold but kept it secret, like concealing a strong hand in cards. Mitch updated, "Hearing soon." I urged delay. I had backup, buried in records, Clerk Martha quipped about my aversion to daylight. I compiled Meadowbrook files into a detailed chart. Key find. Their sewer plant's provisional approval expired 14 months back, extended via Gisham's notes. I copied everything. Contacting Brianna, an environmental specialist, she confirmed violations could force inspections, potential shutdowns costing households dearly. "This is aggressive," she warned. I pondered, but Darlene's next move decided 3 citations for minor issues, like my old truck, ash pile, oversized signs, $150 daily fines. The officer admitted targeted patrols. "Harassment," my friend fumed. I agreed and filed the environmental report plus a counter on selective enforcement. I also requested the 1952 roadmap, suspecting more. Citations persisted. Mailbox placement, dust, visible wood. I complied initially, then halted. An unexpected guest, Ken Ashford, HOA treasurer, revealed irregularities. Documents showed Darlene's self-payments, $4,000 monthly, and the $2,800 demolition from funds, falsified as urgent repair. "Why me?" I asked. "It's unjust, and she fined my wife over roses." I copied the files, seeing broader graft. I tipped journalist Andrea. Over diner meetings, I detailed the saga. She verified, publishing on Gisham's ties, sparking probes. Calls flooded. I ignored most, relishing shifted narrative. Andrea's embezzlement piece followed, amplifying chaos. While that brewed, Mitch notified road closure and easement expiry. Officials panicked over access. "Negotiate fairly," I suggested. Meadowbrook erupted. Leaked meetings showed fury over risks. I held firm. Essentials aren't free. A strategy session at home refined demands. Rebuild, apology, compensation, Darlene's ouster. Advisors stressed grace to avoid villainy. Grant emergency access, delay shutoffs. Darlene retaliated. Nighttime tree felling to block my road, traced to her son's rental. Harassment ensued. Calls, vandalism, threats. I documented, saving for leverage. Kent exposed deeper theft. $200,000 siphoned. Andrea's article led to Darlene's removal. Mediation loomed. The hall overflowed. I presented evidence, photos, posts, video. Demands, Damages, rebuild, apology, easement fee. They accepted. Darlene offered weak defense. Settlement funded rebuild. Community aided construction, dedicating it with a plaque. I founded a scholarship. Reforms followed. Darlene relocated. Months later, invited to a gathering, I reflected by the bridge. True endurance lies in bonds rebuilt stronger. Have you faced an overreaching HOA or untouchable neighbor? Share how you prevailed or where you're stalled. Communities support the principled.